Welcome everybody to our first Meet the Coach session. I'm Gretchen Owens, the Executive Director of EDD Adaptive Sports, and I'm excited to be joined today by Andrea Thies, our rowing instructor. And we hope that this Meet the Coach session will be a fun way for our athletes to get to know a little bit more about Coach Andrea and her sport of rowing, and to ask some specific questions. We reached out to our community of athletes and families and asked them to submit questions in advance, so we'll answer those throughout the course of this interview. And we're also planning several more of these Meet the Coach interviews, so look for those throughout this summer. And we hope that these virtual sessions will help our community of athletes and families and donors to feel engaged and connected. Please leave us a comment below and let us know what you think. If you watch this interview and suddenly have a burning question after the fact that you wish you had asked Coach Andrea, go ahead and post that comment below, and we will do our best to get those questions answered. So as I mentioned, today I'm here with Coach Andrea Thies, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. I just tell you that Coach began working with EDD Adaptive Sports in 2018 to develop an adaptive rowing program in Central New York. She's a two-time Olympian and a certified level 2 U.S. rowing coach, and she's also a founding member of Otsego Area Rowing, the organization that has been working with us to create some adaptive rowing opportunities. Their mission is to help people of all ages discover their ability to move a shell through water. Coach Andrea has helped our athletes to discover rowing both at the gym and on the lake, and we're really excited to get to know her a little bit more today. So Coach, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gretchen, for inviting me to be part of EDD back in 2018 when we started working together. This has been, for me, just an amazing journey. It really brings for me something to look forward to when I know that I'm going to be working with the athletes from EDD. Some of my favorite coaching opportunities have happened in our past sessions. So I am so proud of everyone and what they've done and accomplished, and I really hope to see some new athletes come out when we have an opportunity to do rowing together again. So one of the things I wanted to do in this session is first off, yes, tell you some things about myself. And out of that comes this idea of how to inspire other people, because I feel like I've been really lucky to discover things about myself that I didn't know I could do, that I didn't know I had in me. And it all started in some ways with rowing. And you'd be surprised about some of the things I'm going to tell you. I'm going to share some stories, and I'm going to share some photos and talk about my journey. And hopefully that'll help make you realize too that your journey is probably can be very similar to mine. So first, I just want to ask a question, and I know that right now, you won't be able to answer back to me, but I want to ask you, so I am a two-time Olympian, and it's in the sport of rowing. When do you think I started rowing? At what age? Just take a second, think about it in your mind, and I'm just going to give you a couple more seconds. So I started when I was 18. Actually, a month before I turned 18, when I went to college. That is where I discovered rowing. Now, a lot of people, when I tell them that, when I reveal that, they think, wow, that's really? Because we thought most Olympic athletes started at a very young age. In fact, for me, I never considered myself athletic prior to going to college and starting to play in rowing in college, because I wasn't part of the group of the jocks or the sporty folks. I was a little mix of everything. I liked being outdoors. I was very studious, but never considered myself with any idea of being an athlete. That wasn't my identity. but it is now. It's so that's really interesting. So I think that I'd like to start and just share with you a little bit about me, just who I am right now, and then get back into how I got to where I am. So I'm going to share my screen right now. I have a presentation to share with you guys. All right. So I started rowing in college. I didn't make Olympic team until actually the year or 2 years after I finished in college. But now, many years later, I am a mom, and you can see my family here in this photo, and along with my dogs. I'm also a teacher. I teach math, high school math. I'm involved in robotics clubs, and I have a lot of interests that expand beyond rowing. Of course, rowing and water sports have been a huge part of my life. Something else I'd like to mention is I was not a good swimmer when I was young. I could swim, but it wasn't something that it wasn't like I was on a competitive swimming team or that I did any kind of laps. In fact, when it came to exercise, I was not so fond of exercise for like sweating and stuff like that. Now I'm kind of a mixed bag on that. I really love sports and I love working out. But I'm not always doing that either. I love reading. Sunflowers are my favorite flower. I can't say that I'm a super gardener, but I try. I love baking, and there's other sports I love too, like bicycling. And one of my greatest passions is hiking. And I think as a young person, that is my entry. That was my entry into, if I didn't call myself an athlete, I did do a lot of hiking. I was outdoors. I was fishing with my family. It wasn't that I wasn't physical. Just never thought of it in the way of being, an athlete, like a lot of people think. And when I was in high school, I would see all the people that play sports, and I was sort of like, well, I don't do that, so I don't think I can. I am pretty into yoga too, and it's interesting because that started in college, and meditating and thinking, putting myself in a place where I had like a positive view, and a positive view too that goes toward it's okay to be who you are, where you are, when you are, So this next photo goes in, this is where I was in college. And actually this is my senior year in college. We had just won the national collegiate championships. So we have all our big smiles. And I went to Cornell University. I am still very good friends with these women who are on this team. And we had a reunion last year of our entire team. So maybe you've been looking at it and already have found me. Have you figured out which one I am in this? I'm gonna show you. There I am. So this next photo is a photo again of me with many of those same women rowing more recently. This photo is from 2012, Head of the Charles, which is a big regatta in Boston. We get together and race every year, and unfortunately this upcoming year we won't be able to because they canceled this race. But you can see we're working really hard, but it does look like, I don't know if you can say it. I look at it and I think it looks like we're having fun, but can you see now, can you figure out which one I am on this photo? Take a look and think. There I am. Most of my career at Cornell, I was in that seat. That's called the sixth seat. That's the engine room, it's called. But I have rowed in every one of these positions in the boat. They kind of have different personalities, different things you have to do. The biggest part of rowing, though, is that when you're in a team boat, that one person doesn't make the difference. It's how you work together. And it's a real great analogy for life and working together with people. Again, another reason why I love being involved with the EDD.
May I ask you a quick question?
Yeah,
Do you have a preference whether you enjoy rowing more on a team or more in a single scull on your own?
I have to say really a team. I do enjoy, I love rowing in a single, but even here in, when we're rowing in Cooperstown with Otsego area rowing, we've been able to build up and do team groups, and they're, you know, people of different abilities. It's not everybody's a super great athlete. We just get in a boat together, and I love it. So um yeah, I'm a team person.
Great.
So then after college, I actually went on into a career of, I was an environmental consultant. So I actually worked for a company that did work for the US government. And while I was working there, I was training for the Olympics. And the first Olympic team I made was in 1992. So here's a photo of our full rowing team. This was in Barcelona, Spain. Um, and My company actually gave me time off to train. It was just super generous. One of the things that makes an Olympian is not the individual alone. It's really a team effort as well, because it's not just the team, it's not the athletes, it's all the people who help you along the way. You may have the talent, you may be working hard, physically working, but there's so many people that help you, support you. The people, my family, the people I worked with, people who, when I would be traveling, who didn't know me, but would help host me, that type of thing, give me housing. So it really does come full circle around. And that's one reason why I feel it's really important that I share some of my passion and the sport with other people and give them opportunities. So I think you've watched, it looked long enough maybe. So there I am in that photo. Here is, so in 1992 in Barcelona, I was an alternate. And there was actually there's a little bit of a sad story with it. I was in the team boat. An alternate is someone who's there just in case someone gets sick, who can't row. Then they put you in and then you race. Originally, I had actually been in a team boat, but I got sick before the competition and things shuffled around. And then once I became healthy again, I was no longer in the boat. I was an alternate, but I did have an opportunity to race the single for like an exhibition style race. And here you see me in my Olympic gear, and it's, the way they do it, and they still do it this way, where someone holds onto your boat and they call out the starting commands. At that time, I think they were still in French, and they were "Êtes-vous prêt, partez," which is French for "Are you ready, go?" And then you take off. Now it's "Attention, ready, go" in English. So just a little tidbit there. But being sick and not being able to participate, I felt really sorry for myself most of the time when I was there, until we had an opening ceremony. And then in that moment, in the opening ceremonies, I felt so proud again, realizing you worked so hard to get here, you really deserve it. You've accomplished so much, and things happen, mistakes happen. But it made me want to come back for more. I also met the president at the time, who was, President George Bush and his wife, Barbara Bush. We went to the White House, another fantastic opportunity. I was there and they set up food for us. They had entertainment. They let us take these photos with them. Something that happened in this photo that I wasn't especially proud of, I want to tell you, is I came in, we were all waiting in line. We came in for the photo, took it, smiles, and then I walked away. And when I walked away out of the next door, I thought to myself, I never said thank you. I never thanked them for this, like everything that they're doing so that I can come and meet them. And that stuck with me a while. And I realized, it's so important. And I was a little sad that I hadn't said thank you. But I made up for it, and I was able to say more thanks later. I made the 1996 Olympic team, which I mentioned earlier. And here's a team photo. So again, these are the men and women of the USA rowing team. And if you look, you can see me there. Maybe take a second to look again. And I will now put my little arrow. There I am. I'm in this, I am racing. I'm in a quad, which is a 4-person boat. And I've actually blocked out, the 4 of us are here. So I don't know if you can see my little cursor. I have to the left of me is one of my teammates, and then the other 2 to the right. And we were a great team together. I feel like we really supported each other. I love them very much. And here we are again. This was our quad in the 1996 Olympics. This is a really exciting photo. It actually turned out we often, people ask me, well, did you win a medal? No, I didn't. We came in 8th place overall. And the top 6 places get to run for a medal. We had a rough time. We went into the races, and there's preliminary races where you have to advance. And you've seen that probably in other sports too. We didn't do well in our first race, which meant we had to go to a second race, and we still had a possibility of making it to the final. And in the second race, we didn't do very well. In fact, we were like way far behind everyone else. And we came off that water, and all of us were in tears, and just, we didn't know, how could we be rowing so badly, and we were really down on ourselves. I think at one moment, one of us said, why even bother keep going? Like, we're just going to lose. We're terrible. And I remember inside of me, and all of us kind of came out the reaction like, you know what? It doesn't matter. We have an obligation, not just to ourselves and like believing in ourselves, but there were many people who tried to make the Olympic team. There are many people out there from our friends and our family and our employers and even our country who are looking to us, proud of us. And we're going to go out there, no matter how badly we row, no matter how much it hurts, we're going out there. In this race, when we finally went to the final, this was the B final, we got out there and we were charged up, and then we started rowing to the start and doing our practice. It was terrible. We were rowing so awfully. It felt like we'd never practiced together. And I do remember rowing up there, and I was crying. I thought, wow, this is humiliating. Here I am in front of the world, and we're gonna look like we don't know what we're doing. And just at the moment when we were ready to take that start, again, I reminded myself, it came back to me, I've been doing this how many times? I trust these people. Whatever happens, we're just gonna go out and do it. And I had the best race of my life. This race, we came in second. It looks like right now we're ahead at the angle. We lost by a little bow ball. So we're so close. This race was the best race of my life because within it, I really was just in the moment. I took one stroke at a time. I knew where I was. Even it was painful, but it wasn't really, it was sort of like you just keep pushing. So there's something to be said for recognizing, you go into something. We're certain we weren't going to do well, and we actually did fantastic. I walked away from this
incredible story, Andrea. That's an incredible story. I love the, I think as a spectator, it's really easy to look at these sports and we can see that you're all at the top of your game, but hearing from someone who's in that position, that you still have that same self-doubt that I know I feel when I'm playing different sports or trying something and not succeeding at it. It's so just humbling to know that athletes at every level experience that feeling of, oh, why, I thought I could do this and it's not working for me today.
Yeah. And going through those moments is really hard, and scary. And you kind of want to walk away and just hide from it. When I was younger in high school, I didn't mention, but I was really shy. And I said earlier, I wasn't an athlete. In fact, in gym class, I would like, I would go hide. I would go find places to like do something. I'd say I'd go for a jog and then, disappear somewhere just to avoid, because I didn't know how to play baseball. I didn't really know how to play basketball. I wasn't good at it. And I thought, I don't want to embarrass myself and I don't know how to do it. So that left me oftentimes, feeling kind of sad. And at one point, finally in high school, I realized, I said, the thing is, I might make a mistake. Or I was afraid to ask questions too in class. So I'd go home and figure it out and try and try and try and, smoke coming out of my ears. And not ask a question. Don't admit that I don't know. Finally, I thought, well, what's the worst that could happen if I tell someone I don't know, if I need help, if I'm not good at it? Well, that's that. But the regret of never asking, never finding out, that was worse. And I thought, I don't want to regret. I don't want to regret something that I didn't do. I don't have a problem with making a mistake. And there's no regret to it. You made a mistake, you move on, you learn from it. But not trying, not doing something that you'd wanted to try, that's hard. So that's harder. So yeah, it's all about taking those steps and just letting yourself fall, I think. Oh, and there I am. Sorry, I forgot to. But you guys were probably guessing at it. I'm also our training. You can see we're all really muscular. Our training was incredible. We were training close to 8 hours a day. We would get up in the morning. You'd go and have like a 2-hour workout. You'd come back for a short break, eat. Then you'd go out again. Oftentimes what we did is weightlifting in the middle of the day. And then you'd get home and have another break. And then you'd go out one more time and you'd have another training. We would mix it up between, depending on the season, time, how close you are to races. Closer to races, we're spending more time in the boat. Further away. And the races are in the summer. Okay. So in the fall, you'd be doing alternate training, like running or biking. In the winter, you'd be doing rowing machines or cross-country skiing or something like that. And of course, the hours kind of varied too, because you're trying to build up yourself physically and do it smart. I will admit, I think our coaches did make some mistakes, and we were overtrained, which is why our performance initially, that in this race here, these races, why we were so flat, why we didn't seem to perform, is because we literally, our muscles and our bodies had been exhausted before we got to the race. But it was a lot. And we went, I'm trying to remember now, it was something like 270 days without a day off, which probably is a bad idea, which not probably is most definitely a bad idea, where we literally would do that kind of cycle. And then maybe on a Sunday, you'd have one practice instead of the 3.
Okay.
That was a lot.
One of the questions that was submitted by our athletes was asking about how hard did you have to train to get ready for the Olympics and what was your schedule like? So to piggyback on what you were just saying, when you were training 8 hours a day for 270 days in a row, were you also working a job, or was this your sole focus for that period of time?
So that is, I was not working at that time. When I was working my job, it was a little less hours. So in fact, when I was working my job, I would probably be training 4 to 6 hours a day still. Okay. Though. I'd have a few more days off. But in the year leading up to the Atlanta Olympics, that's when we had really upped it. We all left our jobs. Many of us did have jobs. A lot of athletes don't have jobs outside of just training. I did. I had a job where I was working 40 hours a week other times. But my company gave me the full year off. And then they had a job for me to return to when I came back. So yeah, you can't really train 8 hours a day and then have a job at the same time. Not for that length of time, but there were definitely moments while we were working where you take a 2-week training camp and then you'd be, you know, embroiled in it. And I would remember being, a week would begin and you'd know what the training cycle would be every day. It starts Monday, goes through Saturday, and builds up so that Saturday you do some sort of a race. And I'd get to Tuesday and I'd be lying in my bed and my whole body would be pounding. And I'd say, how am I going to get to Saturday? I don't know if I'm going to make it through tomorrow. Like really, honestly. And you know, what would happen is you'd get to the next day and you'd survive it. And you're like, all right, I don't know how I'm going to get through another day. And then you'd survive. And you kind of just have to take it one small step at a time.
Yeah.
And it works.
That's a good analogy. I mean, it's just like beginning sports too, right? One step at a time.
Yeah. And it's hard for me now even to begin sports, things that are new to me. You know, I mean, I'm frustrated. It's a little hard. It's like, wow, I have to invest a lot more than when it comes to rowing. Rowing, I just pick it up and do it because I've done it for so much. And oftentimes I tell students, you know, it looks so easy that I'm doing it, but keep in mind, I mean, I've done it for many, many, many years. We all have to start somewhere. When I started in college, I was not very good. I showed up, I wasn't recruited, but it was something I was curious about. And it was at that point where I thought, you know, I don't want to have a regret. I want to try this because I hadn't thought I was an athlete, but I want to try something. And water sports had always been interesting to me and being outdoors, you know, so rowing kind of had that aspect to it. Or anyway, I was one of those people that just takes a long time to learn something. And I had some physical ability. I was strong at the time, I guess, but really, really awkward. Didn't match well with other people. So in a team boat, if you're rowing and I'm going the opposite direction of the people in front of me and behind me, I don't make it very comfortable, right?
Right.
So I was in one of the lowest boats, or, you know, like you have varsity and that kind of thing, and JV. I was in the bottom for that first year. But I was able to advance up. And by the time I was already in my second year of college, then I started to figure things out, but it took me longer than others. So just another thought, another reminder that we all have inside us some hidden talents. It's just got to dig into them.
Absolutely.
I have a photo here of meeting further presidents and first lady, as well as a former presidential candidate. So this is President Bill Clinton and First Lady Hillary Clinton at the time. And she was one of the presidential candidates more recently. And you better be sure I did say thank you to them both when I met them. And, you know, I didn't say anything fancy. It wasn't like I went in there and like, oh, what can I say to impress them? I just thought, you know, thank you so much for doing this and opening up your home and taking the time. And this was fun to be in the White House both times. There's a lot of secret little rooms and passageways. We got to see even the bathroom that is like a public bathroom has fancy little towels that, you know, you can take home as a souvenir. It's like a thick paper towel you don't ever want to use. But there was like a bowling alley and a movie theater, and you even could go in the kitchen and see where there was a fire. I think that now let's check my history. Is it the fire of 1812, where or during the Revolutionary period where they tried to burn down the White House? Well, there's remnants of the burning over the one of the doorways. So it was kind of cool to see that. And anybody who knows the history better than me, I guess you're gonna make sure to send me a message and school me in my history. And I would appreciate it. The opportunities that I had with rowing brought me all over the world. And I thought I'd take a little minute here to show you where I've been. So here we go. Here's our little, where did Andrea go for rowing? So the USA, many places and states, Canada, Argentina, England, France, Spain, Germany, Switzerland, Finland, the Czech Republic, Austria, and Australia. So there are many more places you can row. Those are the places that I was able to get to, and you know, throughout the United States, all across the country. So it was really a really rich opportunity to be able to do all that. I think I had in me a desire always to travel anyway, but to see the world from that perspective, and from the seat of a boat on the water is something different. It's different than going and touring, you know, the tourist destinations. You really feel like you see it, you know, like you're really there and in it, and it's part of you, and that's kind of neat.
That's amazing. I count 12 countries on that list. Did I get that right?
I think so. Yeah. Yep. You do.
Very impressive. What a fun way to see the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just recently, I had been planning in March to go visit Japan, and I was going to have an opportunity to row there. My daughter was doing a exchange program, a student exchange program there. But unfortunately, because of the COVID pandemic, that all kinds of things like that were canceled. But I would have put that on my list. I would have added that. And you know, the thing about that situation was I knew I was going to travel that wasn't related to rowing at all. And I thought to myself, well, I wonder if there's anywhere to row nearby. I mean, or just to look at the boathouse and just see what they're doing. And I wrote a quick note. I don't think I even told them I was an Olympian. I just said, hi, I'm traveling. I'm from Otsego area rowing. I'm a coach for them. I just wanted to know, can I come by and, you know, see your place? Is it an opportunity that I could row? And someone wrote back and said, yeah, I'll set it up for you.
That's
So you
fantastic.
never know.
So sports bringing people together, right?
Absolutely. And you never know. You always can ask and see what happens.
That is the
But
truth.
I think in the future, I will try again, and quite often anywhere I go, I do try to look for places to row now, something that I have a connection to, you know.
Yeah.
So this leads us to Otsego area rowing, which we have a rowing club that is in Cooperstown on Otsego Lake, and you can see we have a few of our past EDD participants out, one in a single, and then someone in a double. And actually, I think I'm in the bow of that. I'm in the back. It's called the bow. And I wanted to mention that, let me move this. Rowing is a great sport. It's one that is very low impact on the joints and muscles. You exercise your whole body. So a lot of people think, well, rowing's all arms, but really the whole body and quite a lot of legs. It builds good core muscles, strong back. So it's a great thing to do. And rowing can be, it adapts to you. We can row at all different levels. You can see the boats there have small little pontoons. I don't know if I have my little cursor here, but they're stable. They can be made more stable. You can row with more, with just arms. You can, if you don't have as strong legs, you don't have to work them as hard, but then as you do the sport, you start to strengthen those areas. It's also something that's overall easier to learn. It's hard to get really good at it. It gets you outside when you're on the water like this, the nature, you can see how pretty that is. And I really think it's something that'll make you feel good. So I do encourage folks to think about joining or trying it out, and whether it's with me or any opportunity you might have with someone, try something new. And rowing is definitely a cool sport to get going with. I have a few more pictures. Oh, Go
Well,
ahead.
I had one question I wanted to ask you on that last slide, Andrea. Um,
Yeah. Let's see if I can
uh,
go back.
one of our athletes asked, have you ever fallen in the water when you're rowing? And I know this was a big question for some of our athletes too last summer, thinking about, okay, I can row on the machine, but then when I go to get in the boat in the water, it's a little trickier because it's, it's obviously moving in the water, and it's a different, obviously a different beast.
Yeah, when I was starting to learn, when I was in a teen boat, very rarely did I ever fall in the water. So while I was in college, we never fell in the water. When I started to learn how to row in the one-person boat, in the single, when I didn't have the more stable boats and didn't have the pontoons, then yeah, I did fall in the water. With the pontoons, I didn't experience it, but I fell in all the time when I was first learning. And a funny story is in the 92 Olympics, that is the one where you saw the picture of me in a single. I was out during the practice session, just practicing, and all the teams are out there in different formats. And I had not closed one of my key parts of my boat properly. My oar wasn't properly attached. So I got my way to a turning around area, and then realized, well, I was trying to move and maneuver around other boats, and my oar just lifted right out, and I had nothing to stabilize myself, and my boat flipped completely over. And there I was in front of everybody. I got back in the boat, no problem. It wasn't an issue, but a little bit embarrassed again. And I think at the dining hall, I did get, when people saw me come in, they did give me a clap. I got a standing ovation from people for my excellent performance. So at the Olympics, I flipped. It does happen. And I'm not going to downplay it. It can be scary when you fall in the water. We try, when people are learning, we try to make sure that we minimize any risks and any things that make them uncomfortable. So we do that by making the boats more stable. We do that by having life jackets. And we also don't rush you out until you're ready. So we can work in shallow water to begin with. And I think you can see there's a rope on this one, this first boat, so that the person can row out a little ways, and then we can pull them back. So we really only move as fast as people are ready.
Yes, and I remember last season when I think we did 3 or 4 sessions with Otsego area rowing over the summer. By the 3rd session, everyone had made it out onto the water and had conquered some of those fears of stepping into a tippy boat and being able to get out on the water.
Yeah, and it's okay. It really is okay to take your time. It all depends on what your experiences are. So I don't mind showing up and just, showing and getting people more familiar with what it looks like, what the parts are, how they move. And as long as it takes, I really want to be there and help. So I was so proud. It was so exciting that we were able to get everybody out in the water, though.
That was a big moment for sure.
It really was. Yeah. So just a couple of final take-home messages. I think the most important thing I want to say, and it's whether we talk about rowing or anything you do, is mistakes are okay. You have to really let go of judgment. And that goes, my experience, I have to remind myself of this myself too. But just like that story at the Olympics, when we went into that final race, all thinking we were going to be last, we were not, we're rowing terribly. I was at some point was able to just let it go. I let go of that judgment, and I had the best race of my life. And really, when you make mistakes, your brain is a muscle. Your mistakes that you make, it's your brain learning how to maneuver. Even when your hands and your legs are doing the work, your brain is doing the thinking. And making a mistake is like lifting weights. It makes your brain grow. So making the mistakes actually makes you better than if you got it all right without thinking, honestly. The other thing is that I want to remind people that it's never too late to try something or to try something new. I was 18 when I started rowing, and I went on to row in the Olympics, which is cool, but I continue to row now. And I have people that are rowing with me right now in the club who are 80 years old. Some of them started later in life as well. So you always have a chance to come in and try and find something new, learn something new about yourself. And
I
I
think
guess that's all I wanted to share today.
that is a great point to end with, just to be open to trying something new. I think a lot of our EDD athletes embrace that when they come to our programs and try rowing for the first time, or pickleball for the first time, or yoga for the first time. It's that having that courage to just come out and give it a try is sometimes the hardest step of all, and sometimes the rest can just sort of fall into place. Um, so getting yourself ready and excited for it, right?
Yeah. Well, I hope that folks got something, a positive message out of this, and maybe a little inspiration. And I hope you're all staying healthy and trying to stay active. Even though we're just talking right now and not doing the exercise at this moment, having that idea, setting an intention is important, I think. And so even when I can't row, I do try to set an intention. Like I want to take a walk, right? Or have something that I can think of doing, even if it's for 10 minutes. So hopefully you can go out and do that.
That's great. That's the last question I had from one of our participants was, if I'm at home, what can I do to stay in shape right now?
Well, yeah, and that's been, there's some challenges with that at home and alone. I find it really difficult myself to train and to stay in shape just by myself. So one thing is to be part of a community and let other people know, and maybe set like a personal goal of tracking. Maybe it's a certain number of minutes a week of taking a walk. There are some exercises you can do without a lot of extra equipment. You can do even you can take cans of beans or canned food or a bottle of laundry detergent and use that as something that you can, give you a little leverage and weight, that type of thing. I really do find, I do a lot of videos that are Pilates or a yoga video. Some, there's apps out there now. One of our board members of Otsego Area Rowing is herself an adaptive athlete. And she's working out right now with a trainer. She has some, but she's coming up with, and I'm hoping that maybe she will be able to share in the future some of her exercises that she's doing. But I would encourage, even if you don't have a machine, to try and look up some of those types of videos that you can find. 7-minute workout type videos too. But the easiest thing is to just go out for a walk.
That's great advice. And we've been trying to share some of those resources and exercise videos or fitness activities on our website and social media. So you can check there for some links. And Andrea had shared with me a para rowing workout, which I think we've shared out with everybody. So you can look for that one specifically, and we'll be sure to share that again so you can find it easily. But thank you so much, Andrea, for spending the time with us today and letting us know about your journey with rowing and your approach to coaching, and just your approach to life. I think is so fantastic and such a great fit for working with our adaptive rowing program. We really appreciate all that you do for us and all that you do for the community. And thanks again for sharing all of that today.
You're welcome. And again, thanks everybody for watching. And I hope to see you all soon.
Yeah, leave us a comment below. Let us know what you think, and we'll be back again soon. So we'll sign off for today. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.